Hello everybody, welcome back to another Photoshop tutorial. This time around we're going to be doing another server banner template. As you can see, I already have the file open. I've done two others for server banner templates, which is the banner that you see at the top if your server has achieved 2 stars in boost. Let me show you a quick example of what I mean. For example, for this here, that wants to come over. You can see right there the banner at the very top, and you need tier 2 of boost to achieve that. So it does require a little bit of work to get to that level, but most servers that are actively engaging with their community is going to have that. And then the question is, how do I design a banner for that? So there's two other ones as I mentioned already out. One's pretty complicated and it's similar to the style that I currently use for my server, and the other one's really simple and quick to make. This one's going to be about in between, and it's going to take some concepts from this. It's not going to have all of this down here. It's going to have a bit of this section right here, what the image frames, and it's going to incorporate the top section. So as I'm making this, keep in mind that I have not actually tried making this myself yet, so I'm going to be making it for the first time along with all of you. So to start out, you want to make a new file. I'm just going to show you the size of this canvas so you can go from there. This one's 960 by 540, so it's already good to go. Width, height, you can see that all right there. To start out, I'm just going to make a simple shape right at the bottom. And what that shape is going to be our base layer. For example, right here, you see it right there. So I'm going to create that right there. And we're going to adjust because this is too tall as is. Actually, not tall enough. Look that to the bottom, connect the sides. And we're going to transform that. Bring it down right about there. That's good, and this is not going to be the final color. We'll get to that color in just a moment. So after you have that made, just set that to the side for now. Doesn't matter what color it is, we're going to be changing that and just name this base. Next step is you're going to make the backgrounds. And it doesn't matter what color that's going to be as well because we're going to switch that to a gradient. So go to blending options once you have that set up. And with blending options ready, go to gradient overlay. That is not the gradient that we want. So these are the colors for those curious. There's that first hex code, and then here is the second one. And we're actually going to be adding one more right in the center. Right there. And this one is there right there as well. Hit OK, and we're naturally going to adjust this a little bit. There we go. Pretty content with that. So I'll leave that as is. Rasterize that. And then we add in the stars. Actually, before I forget, because I forgot this for last tutorial when I did the ad, I forgot to add in the grunge. So let me add that in now before I do forget that, which I'll inevitably forget. Let's try this. Yep, there we go. Because it just adds some more depth and feel to the image, because without it, it's just really boring. Nope, that's not what I wanted. It's not what I wanted. Not what I wanted. There we go. So we're done with that. Next, I want to bring in the stars. Same thing. Go over here, create clipping mask. And I'm going to do an overlay. How does... Yeah, it has to be an overlay. And this also just helps add some more, what's the word I'm looking for? Some more feel to the actual images. And you are also going to want to add a gradient to the stars themselves. Let's get that going. Let's delete that. So that's going to be the left color. And then this right here is going to be the right color. Actually, did I get that right? Yeah, and then rasterize that. And then we're going to do overlay. Which I kind of like color burn more. Let's see. That should make those a bit less visible, so they don't take up so much of the image. You can always adjust those later if we have to. Control G to group that and name this the background. Alright, that's good to go. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to fix that base layer right there, because at the moment it's doesn't look all that great. And once we get all this basic stuff out the way, we can start doing the other edits. Well, to make it more pretty up some. Blending options, pattern overlay. Let's see. I kind of like that. Yep. And then what we're going to do is we need to grab our image. So 1 second. All right, now that we have our logo right here, you don't have to use your logo. You can use something else if you have to. But I'm going to use a logo because that's how it was displayed there before. So the logo now here, we're going to downsize that. And it kind of depends on how large you want it. Obviously, if you make it smaller, it's not going to be as visible. But I'm pretty content with making it about this size. Because remember, we also have to leave space for the frames. And I'm thinking perhaps 4 frames is going to fill up this spot here, and then the top is going to be right here. The top being this section. So I think this is fine. Make sure that is centered. That's perfect. And then what we're going to do is hit Control J, Control T, scale that up a wee bit, center that once again. Maybe that's too much of a scale up. Let's see. Yeah, that's a bit too much. It's going to be a little difficult with this specific image just because it has the, because it has the things hanging down from it. So it's going to be a little awkward. Actually, let's do this real quick. Let's take this original image right here, and we'll take out these things. If you spend more time playing around with it, you can get it down to how you want it. But for now, I'm just going to cut those out. It's going to make it a bit difficult as well, those right there, but we can work with that at least. Alright, let's Control J that, make that larger. Doesn't look as good now, but gotta do what you gotta do. And by the way, I'm holding control and then I'm going down to the base layer, holding control and clicking the thumbnail for this bigger one, and it highlights that area within the base layer. And then if I hit delete, it's going to delete to the shape of that original file. So now this gives us a little space around the actual image. And what we can do from there is adjust. Then add a stroke. And that stroke is too thick. I'm going to make that smaller. I think that should be fine. Bring this out a little bit. I think it's showing a bit too much at the bottom, so I'm going to drag it down a little tiny bit. And that base layer here is just about done. You can always add more to it, just spice it up if you wanted to. And we can glance at that at the ends. And I'll name this the base section. And I'll color this up. Logo, base, hide that, delete that. Backgrounds, I'll name this grunge, just real quick to keep ourselves organized. Let me pause while I do that. Real quick, I'm doing a small adjustment to the base here. As you've probably noticed with my other styles, where it's something similar to this, for banners at least, I like to have an appearance of this bottom section being sort of divided out or cut off from the top. So I'm editing in an inner shadow, and I'm changing my mind about the stroke. I'm going to add the stroke before I rasterize the layer style, and then I'm going to cut it out from there. I think it'll make it look better. So here's the settings for the inner shadow, settings for the stroke, and settings for the pattern overlay. And you probably have to download a pattern pack to get this done, but it's really simple to find a line pattern online. Just Google patterns and you'll get that. So I'm going to pause again real quick and you'll see the finished product. Well, not the finished product, but the finished base with the adjustments. So it's not perfect, but it looks better than before in my opinion without having the white there. It should look like this. For this section doesn't look, it looks kind of funky, I suppose, with this being not shadowed like the top, but it'll look fine once you actually stick it into the frame. So that part's done. I'm going to make that orange, make this green, and we can start working on the actual... Actually, let's get the top section out of the way real quick, just so we know how much space we have to work with for other stuff. So this is the color we're going to be using for the top section. 2D, 2D, 2D. Pretty simple. I have this new layer here. I'm just going to hit Control G, name this top section, and make this gray to match the color that it's going to be. Did I miss a T? Top section. Right, so now we have to add in that part. So let's do a rounded rectangle tool. Actually, let's just make this regular because we can add the rounded for the other part. And this is where you're going to have your main name for your group or your community or whatever it is. So stretch that across, bring it down. And I like to have it a bit larger because keep in mind, this is going to be tiny once you actually upload it. Let's see how that looks. That works. It should work. Let's test it out real quick and see if we need to make it larger. Let's just put Suke in here. And some of you may have noticed I did customize my settings over here a bit, so it's a bit more tuned to me. Because I wasn't a fan of the default Photoshop settings. Probably shouldn't have a while ago, but it's definitely going to be better as well once we modify the text some. At the moment, it is slightly plain. Alright, I'm going to pause and get this uploaded and we can check that out. Alright, so this is how it looks at the moment, and I think the size is great for what it is. You can see it pretty clearly once we play around with it a bit more. It's going to look fine. As you can see, the drop shadow isn't invisible. You can see exactly what's going on there, which is great. And yeah, we can keep on going from here. So let me pause again and then we'll be right back. Alright, so we're back. We can keep on going with this. So this obviously works for the top. It doesn't matter which font you really use, I guess, as long as it's clear. If you're using some squiggly, wiry font that's super thin, such as some, not Times New Roman, but those really, I can't think of a style right now. Let's see if I can find an example. But it's the really thin ones. Yeah, like this one. It probably won't look as great. I mean, I'm sure you could use it. I don't remember downloading this font ever. I'm not even sure how it got in here. I mean, I must have downloaded because I'm not sure it's a whatever. I swear I have no idea how that got there. Yeah, but if you do something wiry or skinny, I don't even know what that is. But yeah, this one too. This probably would not show up great, and I can barely read what that is. I would think this is an L or an A or something. But you get the point. I'm just using Tokyo, and Tokyo is a paid font, so you can't really get it for free. And I think they took down any free links that you could find because can't even find it that way apparently. So I'm gonna go with that for now, and we can edit the font again later if we want to. So then for the red, we're gonna grab this color right here, FT6CTA. Pause if you have to. Hit OK. And I'm just gonna group this. What's that? It's just an empty layer. I'm gonna group that and name it the dark top. And honestly, for this section right here, I wouldn't even bother typing anything because anything you type, nobody's gonna be able to read it. It's more for aesthetic purposes than anything. Make sure it's centered. And yeah. It's actually pretty chunky. You know what we could even do with this? We don't even have to put it in the center. We could put it right in the edges and sort of take our own little spin on it. So instead of having it be super tall, we can make it thin and have it be, for example, an edge. I can't think of a word. We'll sort of spice up the edge. Let's try something. Let's add a pattern, and you're not going to see this, but I like to add little small details when I can. Maybe a stroke? How would that look? Kind of curious. No, no, definitely not. Pretty sure that's a Harry Potter quote. Don't mind me, I'm just trying different things. No, that is not great. Let's try something like that on both sides. And see. I don't know. It's pretty funky, but I guess it helps the top stand out. And you could always add stuff right there. For example, we have, well, in our logo, we have those lanterns that you've seen everywhere. Actually, I might as well just put them in. Let me pause a sec. Yeah, so here it is. I'm going to grab that lantern real quick. Let me see where I hit it. Lantern. Let me move it over here. We can stick it right in the corner just to make that a little less boring. And you can always spice up the top more. The idea was to keep it pretty simple, but it's up to you what you want to do with it. I'm going to add some lanterns personally because it felt a bit too simple, but I say but too much. It's been recording. I don't talk that way normally. I think that's alright. Fits pretty well. Alright, and this is the final step, and we're only at 19 minutes. That's a new record for this type of tutorial. This part's gonna take a bit longer, but now that I found the pause button, I can pause out the long work. It's not gonna be as tedious to watch. Actually, let's name these red highlights. top section, and then we're into the final part. And this part, we're going to be doing a gray image frame for the image. So this is the color you want, E5, E5, E5. And let's Control G again to get that set up. And we're going to name this the wanted frame. And it doesn't have to be named wanted frame. I'm just sticking to that because that's what I've been using. And let's make it about this size. And it can be, what you can use these frames for is to have images about your community in them. Can probably fit on, actually just 3 is probably going to be fine for that. And I suppose you can make them a bit larger if you wanted to, since there are going to be so few of them and you have so much space here to work with. Next thing you want to do is, we're going to use green, bright neon green, for a couple reasons. One, if we're dropping an image in, it's easy for us to see where the image might be missing out. And 2, it's just easy to work with. That's it. Looks about right. Looks about right. And what we might do for this is you can do it 2 ways. Is you can either have it fill up the full frame or go like this and have something about the image up top, sort of the caption. So I'm probably going to do it that way, just because that's how I did the original ones. And then when you do a blending options, bevel, I'm going to do 43 here. Was I even typing? I'm actually edit that a bit as well. That should be good. And we can always play with that if we have to at the end. And then for the red, we're going to be using the same red that we used up there. Right here, F7, whatever that is. We'll name this the overlay. We'll name this the base. And next section is going to be the little red thing right here. Where is it called again? That right there, little red line, the marker line, the underline, underscore. None of those sound right, but there we go. Why is that? There we go. That's probably too thick. Make it a bit thinner, but I mean, I guess I also keep in mind that it's going to be going up in the banner, it's going to be tiny. So, it still feels too thick. That should be plenty visible. So the image is going to be about that size. Even that size. Yeah, you see it fine. We're good. Next we're going to do is Control T. Control T. And this one right here. So I am not at all the best at editing with this tool, but I shall do what I can. And once again, keep in mind, I am not that great at this tool. So essentially what we're going to do is move these around. So I'm just going to pause real quick while I figure this out, because otherwise you're going to be here 20 minutes watching me try to align this. Okay, so this is what I did with it. It's not perfect, but it gets the job done. And that's just playing around with Control T and then this tool right here until you get it right. There's no way for me to really teach it. It's more just practice and you'll figure it out. Move that down a bit. The next step was going to add the text to the top. So I'm going to be using the comic book font. Let's name this red line. Red line. And the font's going to be comic book. It's already there. And we can name this text here. Alright, that's there. So next step is going to be add the red pins and the image. And actually, before I forget, we do need to add the paper texture to the back. Otherwise, it looks pretty darn plain. So the base, take that, create clipping mask, Control T, and blow that up. Yeah, it's gonna look pretty bad, but keep in mind it's gonna be super tiny. No one's gonna see it. So we're all good. Yeah, keep that on normal. Now let's see if we can edit that a little bit to make it less blurry. Yep, so add some texture to that. Yeah, I know it looks bad. I was just grabbing this paper texture from the other one, but you can try different paper textures online. You can just search paper texture and you'll find exactly what you're looking for. So I'm just going to grab these thumbtacks from here. When I include this template, I'll do that as well. And dang, I have to blow these up as well, and they're going to look horrible. Yeah, this is not a good example. Because here they were the right size, and now they're about to be super gigantic. I'm going to cut back on that. So it just says text. Text taught. That doesn't word doesn't actually mean anything. I just put that there to fill up some space. I know. It's gonna be super blurry. Shouldn't be doing this. But I'm not in the mood to spend 10 minutes Googling for a thumbtack image. So that works for there. We will want to add a drop shadow to that base to help it stand out a bit more, because at the moment it doesn't look. Nope, not that size. You know, normally, wait. Normally I wouldn't do it that powerful, but keep in mind it's going to be super tiny soon. So let me go find some images and I'll be right back for the images to drop into the overlay. Alright, I've got some images, so we can grab those and drop them in if they'll load. Hey, they don't want to load. Maybe this one. Okay, let's grab that one. Trophy, create clipping mask. As you can see, she's an owner frame, and then if we're missing something, oh, there's a bright neon color right there signifying that we didn't fill it in properly. So my group is anime based, we'll put an anime frame there. I'm just going to do Control J 3 times, Control G, frames, make this red, name this left, center, right, center to the center, and right to the right. And since they're little thumbtacks, you do not have to keep them straight. So I'm going to put that one right here. It doesn't matter if it's out a bit, because that's the whole idea. And if you don't like this bevel, if it's too much for you, you can always edit it. Center, I'll keep straight, just like that. And right, actually let me grab an image before I start adjusting that one. Which image do I want to use? Let's see. I guess we can go with that. Oop, what did I do? I'll hit Control Y. That turned this whole image to CMYK. Do not want that. There we go. She is there, so I can adjust the right frame. Control T. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I will try to align it a bit. That's there. And let me grab an image for the center real quick. Let's see here. I'm probably being too picky for this example. Yeah, let's just go with this one. Cannot go wrong with Tokyo Ghoul. Kind of amazes me how all these banners for servers are so plain or boring. They'll just grab an image from Google. For example, they'll grab this image and just drop it as their banner. Come on, guys, you gotta make it original. You can't just grab an image and drop it in. You gotta work on it a bit. Yeah, and see, now this matches the anime community. I guess you can do some more editing somewhere. Like, what do we do for this one? I mean, I suppose you could drop one of these up top. Let's see how that would look. If you did one of the, nope, that is not what I wanted. If you did one of these, I don't want the bottom one. I'm not actually going to show you how to make it because it's not for this tutorial, but I'm just giving you an example of some extra things you could do to help spice it up a bit. So I suppose you could put something like that on the top, or you can make some other shape and go with that, and maybe it'll look pretty good. Like, I suppose you could do that because I mean, there's like a little plane right there. I do agree. Even though you didn't say anything, I agree that it looks plain. I mean, I suppose if you wanted to, you could do something like this. See the lights up top here? You could grab the lights, bring them over, and these are huge lights. Let me knock those down a little bit. And you could kind of edit them for the season in that way. You could just connect the lights along the edges. Of course, you have to straighten it out a bit just so they aren't all over the place, but probably stick some lights there and keep it fun. So let me cut. Oop, that's not what I wanted. Let's say I delete these right here. And it's not going to look good, I know, but just a rough example of what you could do. You could bring that over and just, I don't know, have fun with it. I mean, yeah, this does not look great because it's just a quick mock-up, but you can try all kinds of things with that. Or you can do, for example, from the other one, is you could grab these some clouds and drop those in. Let's actually try that real quick. Get rid of those and use these clouds. Actually, how we can do it is we can take that, put it under the red. And these clouds aren't the prettiest clouds, I agree, but they're not boring either. Let's try something. These clouds might actually pretty good for this. Now let me pause a second because you're just watching nothing right now. And yeah, I think that actually looks decent. And you'll find the settings for the clouds in here once you actually take a look at it. But this should be essentially done. I suppose I'll pause real quick and drop it into the group so you can see what it looks like. But this is essentially how you make all this. So one sec while I go ahead and drop this in. So I think it actually looks pretty decent up here. You can see the text clearly. You can see it top clearly. You can see a logo clearly. You can see the background details. And I think this actually turned out really well. And now I didn't really do much with the top up here where the actual name of the group is or the community, whatever it is. But there's so many different possibilities of what you could do with that text. I think that's best left up to you because it would be another 20-30 minutes just covering all the possibilities with text. There was a font tutorial you can find on the channel, or you can just go wild and try out different things. Are people complaining about the top again? No. Last time I uploaded this one, just whatever it was, 10 minutes ago, everybody was saying, "Oh no, somebody he changed the top. What's going on? Yada yada yada." Just joking. But yeah, so that's the end of the tutorial. I hope you all enjoyed it because you were asking for it, so I had to come up with something new on the spot. I do have several other ideas for server banners, but I'll leave that for the future. So I hope you all enjoyed this one. I hope it was what you're looking for. I'll upload this all into Google Drive folder again, and I'll find a, what's it called, the image for the texture for the paper. I'll find a new one, drop that in. Thumbtacks you have to find yourself. I'll drop the cloud in for the clouds, just Control J, and then move them in different ways around. Color overlay, make them white, and you're good to go. And just do the stroke right there. And I'm gonna leave out these lanterns because those are, as you know, private. Rest you can find yourself. So have an amazing day, everyone, or evening.